Here it is. I'm not going to show the label for it because I don't want to get any trouble, but here it is. I talked about this on my show a while back. It's Mountain Dew Fruit Quake. It is fruitcake flavored Mountain Dew. Last season they had the gingerbread man flavored. It was not gingerbread man, but gingerbread flavored soda, which on first glance first couple tastes isn't too bad, but it's not something that I would probably drink multiple times. And I didn't. I bought a 12 pack around Christmas time, and I just threw it out recently. So we'll see what happens. Wasn't going to make the same mistake with this one. I'm going to try this one real quick, see if I like it. If not, it go bye-bye. I will try to endeavor to finish this. If it's terrible, if it's too terrible, I might just throw it out. But yes, the Mountain Dew Fruit Quake. It tastes like fruitcake flavor is what it says. So that's what today's episode 473, Fruitcake Soda, is all about. We're going to talk about this. A lot of death, a lot of anniversaries, biopics, Soylent gingerbreads, Studio Ghibli, conversation with myself, pickles, Pokemon, casting, Sexiest Man Alive was named. Trailers, I believe, deals, new cast, is that right? New casting, blah, blah. So, I put off long enough. Let's try this. Hard to quantify the smell. Here we go. Excuse me. Yeah, it's not very good, but it's not terrible, believe it or not, but it's not one I would probably go out and buy. One viewer was right. There is sort of that aftertaste that the gingerbread one had, I think is in this one as well. It's a hard thing to describe. Again, not very good. Yeah, it's a really hard one to describe. It does have the gingerbread sort of flavoring, I guess, in there. It's not supposed to because there's no gingerbread in fruitcake, but I get that taste, that feeling of the gingerbread thing in here as well. Weird fruit taste. It almost tastes like cough medicine, to be honest. I will come back to this later. I will probably be able to finish it, but it's not very good. So sorry, Mountain Dew. Struck out again with Fruitquake. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. Hopefully next year you'll do maybe an eggnog flavored one, which I think would be kind of cool. What, am I crazy? Maybe, but it might be worth a shot anyway to try it out, see what it tastes like. I think I read somewhere that I think I saw in the grocery store today, Starbucks has a strawberry peppermint flavored coffee, which just sounds awful to me, honestly. So I don't know. So yeah, it's not great, but it's not awful. You know, it's one that I'm not going to buy a 12 pack. I'll go back to the raspberry lemonade. The Halloween one is still out, I think. I don't mind that one so much, but that one is getting a little too old too. Maybe get back to the regular ones there, get back to the red one again. See if I can find blue again. I found it up at Food Line up the road from here, so maybe I can find that again. But yeah, this one is just, it's not great, but it's not bad. So there's that. But yeah, there's definitely the gingerbread flavored Mountain Dew aftertaste sort of is in there as well. Now, the one holiday one I wouldn't mind seeing again, today I've talked about this before, there was a Pepsi Spice one that came out a couple of years ago. I mean, a lot longer than that, like 10 years ago. Pepsi had a run there of a couple of really good ones. They had the Pepsi Lemon, which was really, really, really good. They did it in collaboration with the NFL that year, and it was so good. I could drink those a million times. The Pepsi with lemon flavor was outstanding, and I miss it. I wish it would come back because it's so good. But they also did a winter spice one. I want to say it was the same year, and it wasn't outstanding, but it wasn't bad, And then they had that cinnamon flavor one, which is terrible. My kids loved it, but the cinnamon one was terrible. So they need to do cinnamon Mountain Dew next. I still like eggnog flavor one be good because I like eggnog, but that's just me though. So probably not. Anyway, I spent almost 6 minutes on this. So one last swig before I get moving on here. So usually I do a lot of personal stuff, but I haven't because of I've decided last week was the first episode of my new show, Conversations with Myself. Did okay, got 13 views, about the same as last week's episode as well. And I hope I can build on that a little bit. I did lose 2 subscribers, but I think I know why. But I'm not going to get into that. I'll get into that to tomorrow's Conversations with Myself. As I said before, I don't know how often I'm going to do Conversations with Myself, but I decided I needed to cover some stuff tomorrow. And I'm definitely doing one next weekend as well when at least my wife and daughter are off camping. And after my son goes to bed, I'm going to do my Thanksgiving episode of Conversation with Myself because I have a lot to say about Thanksgiving. But tomorrow's episode of Conversations with Myself, which I'm going to have to slot in there sometime early because we're going to go see Black Panther 2 tomorrow at 1:45 p.m. Sold out. I checked all different schedules trying to get the tickets ahead of time. Every place was sold out except for the really awful kind of seats, and we end up sitting in the kind of awful seats for the 1:45 show. We're row B, which means we're 2 back from the screen, so it's going to be a little weird to see it, but hopefully it won't be too awful. So we'll see what happens. So hopefully it won't be too bad. So no review of Black Panther 2 today. None on Conversation with Myself tomorrow. My review will be on next week's episode of Dylan Knows. So we'll do that. But yes. So tomorrow's Conversation with Myself, when I get to it eventually, sometime tomorrow. The big issue is I had a social media confrontation today with someone that I thought was a friend, but apparently not anymore, but that's okay. And I believe they were one of the ones that left this unsubscribe to my YouTube channel because after what they did, I blocked them and unfollowed them. So we'll talk about that a little bit. Hopefully we'll do the Ron Underwood stuff. We'll talk about MTV. We'll talk about a whole bunch of random stuff. What else I have? I have it all written down somewhere. My dishwasher issues and just a couple other things I haven't written down, but that's just a little bit of a teaser what's going to come for tomorrow's Conversations with Myself episode. But we're not here talking about that. I've already wasted, as I said, about 9 minutes of taste testing fruitcake flavored soda and talking about Conversations with Myself. So let's get moving on with stuff going on today. So speaking of Black Panther 2, Black Panther Wakanda Forever made $28 million on its Thursday preview showings, which was $3 million more than Black Panther did, the original Black Panther did. So it underperformed overseas on Thursday into Friday. I think it made only $30 million, which was under what Black Panther did. So the pundits were expecting a lesser taking, like a 160 to 180 window. And then Friday came and it destroyed all that with an $84 million box office on Friday. Can only imagine what today's was. and they'll project tomorrow's today or tomorrow morning or whatever to get a good idea. So right now they're calling for about a 190 to $200 million window, which is what I was thinking myself personally about this. So that was good. So doing pretty good. Good. As I said, I tried to get tickets and everything was sold out. It was absolutely insane. I don't think I've ever seen that before. So outstanding job. Good job. And good. Today was also Pokemon Community Day proper in advance of next week's release of the new Pokemon Scarlet and Violet video games. This Community Day was Teddy Ursa with a brand new Pokemon we could evolve. I forget his name, Luna something. The thing about that is that Teddy Ursa has a evolution called Ursaring, and then you evolve Ursaring into this new one. Now you can only evolve this new one when there's a full moon out, and so licky tongue. Niantic decided to put a full moon out in the morning, or rather during Community Day, and it's going to have the full moon out in game from, I guess it was about 2:00 this afternoon to about, I guess, 8:00 tomorrow night to make sure that everybody can evolve their Ursa rings to this new one, which I'm going to tell you about in a second once I catch this licky tongue. So there we go. So do we have it raining here? But it's not really raining here. So it's raining in game, but not here. So it's a bad licky tongue. So boom, out of there. So the one I got is Ursa Luna. That was the one that looks like a turkey, to be honest. So it's kind of funny. But that was the one you could evolve it into. And that's the one that can only go with full moon. So full moon is in game right now. So it's kind of interesting. It's actually kind of interesting to see it right now because it's clear sky because they need to have the full moon out, but it's raining in game. So because it's supposed to be raining here tonight. But interesting. It was a nice day though. So my wife and I went out at 2:00 and we were done by about, I guess, 4, maybe 3, 4. Yeah, it was about 4:00, I guess. I got 9 shinies. I think she got 10. So that's all good. So there was that. Good on that. Let's see. Sticking with Pokemon real quick. The other big news about Pokemon is after 25 years since Pokemon started, Ash Ketchum, the main character of the Pokemon anime, finally got his goal. He won the World Championship and is now the greatest Pokemon trainer in the world right now after winning this hard-fought battle. And poetically, of course, as was going to be, Pikachu did the killing blow, which cemented the win for Ash Ketchum. So good on that for them. The Nintendo Switch, according to Nintendo, is most popular with 22-year-olds, which is weird because I'm 49 years old and I love my Switch. My wife is 48 and she loves hers too. So, no, good on that anyway. But it's interesting, and so I'm glad people are actually going out and buying the Switch, which is good. Could Courtney Cox be coming to the MCU? Rumors have been abound that she is going to be cast in the new Wonder Man TV show that will not start being made probably till next year. But it'd be nice to see Courtney Cox in the world of the MCU. So that'd be kind of great. Guillermo del Toro is taking a page out of Ryan Reynolds and hopefully trying to get studios to do something. Guillermo del Toro's dream project, pet project, whatever you want to call it, has been an adaptation of H.P. Lovecraft's In the Mountains of Madness, right? Let me see if I can find that right now. At the Mountains of Madness, yep. Mm-hmm. And he's been dying to make this movie for years now. He's just never been able to get the money because it's going to cost a lot of money to do CGI and all the stuff like that. And no film distributor wants to try their hand at spending like $200 million on a horror type movie with a lot of special effects sort of thing. Particularly they're trying to tighten their belts a little bit. But like what Ryan Reynolds did when Ryan Reynolds was complaining about accidentally leaked Deadpool screenshots of him in the full Deadpool outfit. And when people saw that, they were screaming for Fox or whoever to make a Deadpool movie because that's the Deadpool that they liked and remembered. And we all know it's pretty much a fact, even though it hasn't been officially announced. But Ryan Reynolds was one that actually leaked it so that he could get in and to make Deadpool. And when he did, they took a chance, and the chance won really big for them, and he made a ton of money, and it made a ton of money for them. So what I think Guillermo del Toro is trying to do is he's trying to do that as well for this movie, to try to say, hey, look at what I've done so far with the computer graphics for it, and also get it out there to the fans who there have been a wide variety of people out there who've been screaming for this movie to come out and been pushing for it. So this gives them more fuel for their fire to try to get the movie released a little bit. So hopefully that'll work, because that's actually, I love seeing when directors finally get a chance to do their dream project. Francis Ford Coppola is working on his right now, Megalopolis, which he's been wanting to do since the 70s. And he's finally has the cast, and he's starting filming right now. It's going to be his first movie he's done close to 20 plus years, if not more than that. So that'd be kind of cool for him to get that. So it'd be kind of cool if Guillermo del Toro can do something similar as well. So we'll see what happens with that. There's a Snoop Dogg biopic in the works at Universal with the Menace to Society and From Hell director Alan Hughes. Actually, From Hell was directed by Alan Hughes and his brother, as technically as Menace to Society was, but Alan Hughes will be directing the Snoop Dogg biopic, so that could be kind of an interesting thing. Speaking of biopics, the Whitney Houston biopic, I Want to Dance with Somebody, released a new trailer this week. Looks like a good Whitney film. Enjoyable one to look at there. Earlier in the week, Studio Ghibli and Star Wars released a weird kind of commercial on Disney Plus or ad or something that people were trying to wonder what it's about. Some sort of, is there a collaboration with Studio Ghibli? What's going on? We find out now that a short called Star Wars Zen was done by Studio Ghibli, and it stars Grogu, or Baby Yoda, as other people know him, and the Dust Bunnies from My Neighbor Totoro. I have not seen it yet, but that is what is the collaboration between Studio Ghibli and Marvel was. Yeah, there's like a cherryish kind of flavor in this fruitcake flavored Mountain Dew as well. And thank you for my one viewer, my one thumbs up. I appreciate it. Thank you. This is Soylent Green year, which everybody knows. Soylent Green was a movie that came out back in like the 70s, and Charlton Heston, and Soylent Green is people. It's takes place in the future, which was this year, 2022. And food is scarce, so a new food product was created, and it's discovered that they were neutralizing people into this green goop called Soylent Green. So I think this had to be a joke about that as well. It's a soy product, obviously, but they have something coming out called Scott Troutman. Hey, Scott Troutman. Thanks for watching. Soylent Gingerbread, ready-to-eat meal. It's a high-protein meal in a drink that tastes like gingerbread, I'm assuming, and soy in it as well. But I just found the name Soylent Gingerbread is, kind of funny, actually. Irish dancers perform a river dance routine to Vivaldi's Winter. If you've never heard Vivaldi's Four Seasons, it is an outstanding piece of classical music. Winter is a nice little one, and the fact that they created a river dance for that is outstanding. Godzilla vs. Kong 2 has undergone a name change to change up the status quo of these two, because at the end of the Godzilla vs. Kong movie, spoiler alert, they became buddies. Well, not really buddies. Kong went back to the Hollow Earth where he rules, and Godzilla rules the above Earth. So when they announced a sequel called Godzilla vs. Kong 2, people were like, oh, they're going to start fighting again. We've already seen this. But no, that's not the case. the story that has come out was that they will be teaming up to take on a new giant monster that has never been seen before and threatens both of their planes of existence. So to change up the status quo of the movie, with them not fighting each other, but them being partners or friends, Godzilla vs. Kong 2 has now been changed to the title of Godzilla and Kong, which makes a lot more sense, to be honest. So good on that. A Buffalo news station was interviewing members of the Buffalo Bills football team in their locker room, and they accidentally filmed one of the Buffalo Bills completely naked, and it aired on TV. So you need to do a better job of your editing of there. This was a hard week death-wise. 2022 continues its march through death. I think 2016 still has a leg up on the amount of death and the amount of the people who died during 2016, their impact on stuff. But 2022 has had, a very close second to that. And we got a few more of those this week. First up, we have Gallagher, the comedian that you all know, whose shtick was he liked to smash watermelons, and his crowd would get sprayed with these watermelons. They have to hold up the clear sheet, stuff like that. Now, that was not the only thing he did in his comedy stuff, but that was the one that he's always remembered for. He passed away this week. I think even though, all deaths are hard for everybody, but one that hit the geek world the hardest was Kevin Conroy's death. Kevin Conroy is maybe someone you might not have ever heard of if you're not in the proper places, but back in I'd have to say probably 30 years, 20 years, 90, 92, it would have to be 30 years. Yeah, 30 years ago, 92, saw the arrival of Batman, the animated series. Sure it was 92, was it before then? Anyway, it doesn't matter. But Batman, the animated series came out. Paul Dini was one of the showrunners, and I forgot who the other one was. But it was a huge success, great success. It was to be honest, in my opinion, it was the definitive Batman out there. Batman was done perfectly. The characters were perfect. The stories were perfect. And the casting of everybody was perfect. Mark Hamill as the Joker, Richard Mull as Harvey Dent, Two-Face, just people like that. And Kevin Conroy anchored all that with his iconic performance as Batman. Many consider him to be the voice of Batman. 92, thank you. Scott Troutman. I thought it was 92. I just want to be 100% certain about that. So he is in the geek world, and not even the geek world, just the world in general, is considered to be the iconic epitome of Batman. And I have to agree with that. He's probably the best Batman we have ever had. The voice is not too grating like Christian Bale's was. And his Bruce Wayne was more believable than a Michael Keaton's was, though I love all of them. But he was the definitive Batman. And I still, to this day, believe the best Batman movie that has ever been released is the Mask of the Phantasm. The animated movie came out on Christmas, which was unfortunate because it didn't do anything at the box office, but it became sort of an underground hit because it is so good. And he is the iconic Batman. So it's been a rough time like that. So, he is the voice that everybody hears now when they read Batman comics. It's the voice that they want to hear when they see Batman movies. But alas, unfortunately, we will not see that anymore, which was a shame. Now, also speaking of other comic book, there's been a couple comic book deaths this week. Carlos Pacheco, comic book artist who biggest claim to fame is Kurt Busiek on Avengers Forever, which is one of the best Avengers story you're ever going to hear. And with this whole multiverse thing going on MCU, Marvel missed a huge opportunity with doing an Avengers Forever movie, because that would have been outstanding. The basic premise of it, this came out in the mid to late 90s. The basic premise of it was a group of Avengers from different timelines had to join forces to take on Kang. And maybe that's where they're going to go, because this is the Kang Dynasty. Maybe that's what Avengers Forever is going to be. It's going to be Kang Dynasty. We've already set up all the multiverse stuff here. So maybe you can get, all these Avengers from different timelines to come in and join forces against Kang. You can get like, Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield, Spider-Man. You can get Captain Carter. She died in one world, she might not die in another one, or just different variations of characters, and put them all together and do this. But it was a fantastic story and lovely art by Carlos Pacheco, and they worked so well together that when Kurt Busiek went to Image to do his own, actually he didn't go to Image, I think it was DC, but it was a creator-owned one, and then he went over to Image now. Aerosmith, he took Carlos with him to draw the book as well. And he also had a good run on the Green Lantern, and did something with the Age of Ultron in the comics with Brian Michael Bendis. Now there's some other deaths in here, but I'm trying to find some of the big comic book ones that came out. Kevin O'Neill, also comic book artist, been around since the 80s. In the 80s, he did a character called Martial Law, who was really, really good, and came out in the late 80s, right when comics are starting to get a little bit more grown up and adult. But he's most famous for is his collaboration with Alan Moore on the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, which is a really good premise. Gets a little out there because Alan Moore's a little out there, but Kevin O'Neill's kind of bizarre sort of comic book artwork totally suits the storyline and does a fantastic job with that. There's one other comic book person, and then I'll get back to the other deaths here. I just want to make sure I'm not seeing. I know that's near the end, so I just want to make sure. Here it is. And the last one is Danny Bellondi, who is a name I'm familiar with because he was an inker in the 80s and 90s when I was high into collecting, and I remember seeing his art, his inking on a ton of stuff. He passed away at the age of 76 this week as well. So bunch more. The comic book industry has been losing a ton of people this year. It's been insane how many people they've been losing this year. So rest in peace to them. But unfortunately, we do have other deaths as well. Adrian Dingle, defensive tackle for the then San Diego Chargers, is dead at 45. He played for the Chargers from 1999 to 2004. Fred Hickman, longtime Sports Tonight host and Inside the NBA original host, passed away this week as well. Nazareth singer Dan McCafferty, whose song Love Hurts was a huge hit. He died at the age of 76 this week. I always get Love Stinks with Love Hurts mixed up. Leslie Phillips, Carry On actor and voice of the Sorting Hat in the Harry Potter movies, passed away this week as well. Coy Gibbs, son of Coach Joe Gibbs, the former Washington football team coach Joe Gibbs. His son, Coy Gibbs, died this week as well. And finally, music DJ Kitty, DJ Ravioli, died. There was a website or a story that showed, it was a documentary, I think, on Netflix that showed cat families, cat dads or something like that. And one of them was a DJ whose cat was DJ Ravioli and was a DJ with him, DJ'd with him. DJ Ravioli, the cat, passed away this week as well. So sad bit of news there. We'll see what happens there. A lot of anniversaries. So let me get through that, and then we'll get to the rest of the stories, I promise you. There's some good stuff, too. 2019, November 12th, 2019 was the beginning of Disney Plus. I remember because I was home sick from work that day, and just so happened that that was the Disney Plus beginning thing where it first started. Mandalorian's first 2 episodes of The Mandalorian popped up from 2019 on this date, November, well, not this date, but November 12th. Oh, it is to this date, November 12th, 2019. The first 2 episodes of The Mandalorian ever appeared, as did the Christmas movie Noel, which I'm trying to show to my daughter, but she hasn't been trying to watch it as much. Kevin Smith's, in my opinion, still his best movie he ever made, Dogma. Was released 23 years ago this week. I did a story a couple weeks ago detailing how Miramax is screwing him from being able to have the rights to release Dogma in a better Blu-ray or DVD or re-release it or whatever. They're holding out for something. I forget what it is. The classic 1993 Disney version of The Three Musketeers with Kiefer Sutherland, Chris O'Donnell, Charlie Sheen, Oliver Platt, Tim Curry, Rebecca De Mornay, Julie Delpy, just outstanding cast in that wonderful movie. Came out this week in 1993. That's all for this page, right? Yep, bazinga. And then here's a whole bunch of stuff that I'm going to talk about here in a second. So I'm going to back up a little bit. Stranger Than Fiction, which was one of Will Ferrell's first ever dramatic roles, came out 16 years ago this week. U2's Under the Blood Red Sky live album came out this week, 39 years ago. 1982. That's a story. In 1982, there was a British news show called That's Life, and the British news show decided to do something different. So in 1982, this week in 1982, they went out and interviewed regular British people about a new product that was just released called edible panties. And they had the edible panties, and they were giving them going up to like older ladies and older gentlemen and saying, hey, why don't you take a bite of these and we'll tell you what they are. In that case, it would be edible knickers, if you want to get to the proper British term for it. But that was in 1982, so it's kind of an anniversary there. Ernest Saves Christmas came out this week in 1988. Repo, the genetic opera, came out 2008 this week. Less Than Zero came out 35 years ago this week. That was Robert Downey Jr., Andrew McCarthy, and Jamie Gertz. Starship Troopers is 25 years old this week as well, 1997. An outstanding film if you have not seen it. A lot better than you might remember it. If you look at it through the eyes of what Paul Verhoeven was trying to do and making it into like a German propaganda film, which was outstanding. My favorite band, REM, released one of their best albums, Green, in 1988. Green, I believe, had crap. I'm such a big fan, I forget what's on Green. My mind also isn't working because of the fruitcake Mountain Dew. So let's see, let's track REM Green. It has some of their biggest hits. I think Stand is in this one. Pop Song 89, which is outstanding, but not great. Get Up, which is a great, quick 2-minute, 42-second song. You Are the Everything, which is good. Yep. Stand, I was right. Yep, 4 is the 4th track. World Leader Pretend is an outstanding song. Love World Leader Pretend. Wrong Child's okay. Orange Crush is another huge one for REM, came out on Green. Turn You Inside Out is another outstanding one. Hair Shirt is it's okay. And this is a fun one. The last one on the on Green was I Remember California, which when I first heard it way back in the early 90s, because I didn't jump on board REM until I was a senior in high school, which was 91. I hated I Remember California. And then as the years progressed and I started listening to more the songs more and more often, normally I had a CD player in my car. And so I would sometimes just throw REM in there, driving to work, driving back from work. And I would put the whole album on because I could listen to the whole album. I could skip the ones I didn't like, whatever. But I really got to like I Remember California a lot. And I still do to this day now, consider to be one of my faves. 1943 this week saw the release of Son of Dracula. What the hell? Oh, The Water Boy. Okay. Adam Sandler's The Water Boy came out 24 years ago this week. Passenger 57 came out 30 years ago this week. That's Wesley Snipes' Always Bet on Black, Die Hard on Airplane. One of Pixar's greatest movies, The Incredibles, came out 18 years ago this week. I'm skipping around for a particular reason. Thor: Dark World, which is a lot of people consider the worst Marvel Cinematic Universe movie, came out 9 years ago. It gets a lot of hate. It's not as bad as people remember it as much. It has, don't get me wrong, it has issues, but it's not awful. Nightmare on Elm Street, the original one from Wes Craven, 1984, came out this week, 38 years ago this week. Elf with Will Ferrell again and Jon Favreau directing. Christmas classic came out 19 years ago this week. Skyfall, many considered to be the Daniel Craig's best James Bond movie, came out 10 years ago this week. Ron Howard and Mel Gibson teamed up for Ransom, 1996 movie this week as well. In pop culture, November 12th, 1955. Fans of a certain movie should know why that date is important. But I will tell you, a town in California had a massive thunderstorm roll through around 10 o'clock at night. And their giant clock tower in the center of their their town center, was struck by lightning at 10:04 p.m. on November 12th, 1955. And the clock stopped working from that point on. So that might not sound like a big deal, but if you look at it through the lens of pop culture, on that very clock tower just before the lightning hit was a certain person by the name of Dr. Emmett Brown, who had spent the last week with a boy from the future, teenager from the future, 1985 to be exact. And the teenager was trapped in 1955. And the only way that he could get his time machine to work was with a bolt of lightning. The teenager knew about the clock tower being hit on that date. So Doc Brown came up with the idea to harness the lightning to power the time circuits that sent Marty McFly from 1985 to 1955 back to 1985, going back to the future. November 12th, 1955. 1982, this week, Creep Show came out, a horror anthology, some Stephen King in there, and I think George Romero might have been involved with that, and other horror icons as well. Seed of Chucky came out in 2004 this week. I think they played that off a little bit in the more recent Chucky TV show. Now I need to set the stage now for you. I believe it might be November 10th, but November 12th. But this week in 1994 was a huge movie week. You get Tim Allen and Santa Claus came out this week in 1994, 28 years ago. Became a huge hit. So much so that the Disney Plus TV show will be coming on next Wednesday, not this Wednesday coming up. Right? No, it will be this Wednesday. Yeah, because today's the 12th, now the 13th. Yeah, it'll be this Wednesday. So the new Santa Claus TV show comes out on Wednesday. Star Trek Generations also came out on this date in 1994. That's the first of the Star Trek Next Generation crew being in the movies. And it included William Shatner's Captain Kirk to sort of pass the torch to them. A lot of people don't like Generations. I actually find it hugely enjoyable. I thought the music score was outstanding. I thought the storyline was entertaining and fun. And it was fun to see the Next Generation crew after their show had finished its run in syndication, moving on to their next level. and see Malcolm McDowell as a bad guy was another good thing too. Yes, you can say William Shatner's Captain Kirk died like a little bitch, whatever. I don't care. I thought it was a great movie, and I thought it was a lot of fun and underrated at that. And Interview with the Vampire, the Tom Cruise, Brad Pitt, Kirsten Dunst, Antonio Banderas film based on the Anne Rice novel came out this week in 1994. Now, in 1994, at this time, this week in 1994, I had been dating my girlfriend at the time. We've been dating since I want to say September, late September. So we've been going for about 2 months and a half, I should say. And she loved vampires. And she loved when I bit down and sucked on her neck. Well, we're not going to get into that. But she liked vampire stuff. In fact, our first date, we watched Francis Ford Coppola's 1992 adaptation of Dracula, and did some other suck. We're not going to talk about that either. And continuing, but she was a huge vampire fan, and when she saw this movie was going to come out, she said, "We have to see it opening weekend." I don't care. I was like, "I'm with you. I'm good, because why not?" So yes, I remember going to the movie theater with her. And it was a packed house, but also I remember seeing the crowd to go see Star Trek Generations. I don't remember seeing the Santa Claus in that movie theater, or even paying much attention to it because, well, I was my girlfriend. But the interesting thing is that later in that December of 1994, when we were on Christmas break, and she lived not that far from me. It was really funny. We both went to school in Pennsylvania. And we found each other, even though we both lived here in Maryland, like about 20 minutes from each other, which was funny. We end up seeing the Santa Claus during Christmas break. So it's kind of interesting. So that's kind of an interesting sort of side story about this week in film for 1994. Big casting news this week. Lin-Manuel Miranda, he of the Hamiltons and all that sort of has been cast as Hermes in the Percy Jackson Disney Plus TV show coming up. So that is outstanding casting. I cannot wait to see that. I think he doesn't have quite a big role in the first one, which the first season is going to cover the first book. I think if they go to a second season, it'll cover the second one. He has a little bit more to do in the second one. But he'll still be around a little bit, but it's good that they cast him. I think that's brilliant casting. If you're a fan of the former TV show The Office, for less than $25, you can spend the night in the Dunder Mifflin offices. Now, I believe it's in Scranton, which is where the show takes place. And I believe they have a complete mock-up of the set. I don't know if it's the actual set, because I don't think the actual set would still be existing, and I don't think the actual set was filmed actually in Scranton, but I think someone probably built this sort of like Airbnb or whatever, B&B experience, whatever, so that it looks like the Dunder Mifflin offices, and you could spend the night there for less than $25. And just, it just seems odd to want to do that, but nothing for me to say about that. People love socks. They like to get, warm, comfy socks. They like to get good athletic socks if they're athletic, stuff like that. But they also like fun socks with crazy pictures and stuff on it. I had socks today that had Bigfoots on them, Sasquatches, whatever you want to call it. Well, General Mills has released a set of breakfast socks, meaning they're socks that have the names of some of their more popular cereals, including Trix, Cinnamon Toast Crunch, Lucky Charms, and Cocoa Puffs. So you can get the General Mills breakfast collection of fun socks for your holiday fans of that type of stuff. Netflix announced a Gears of War live action movie and an adult animated series. I don't know if it was the producers of, I think it was the producers of the Gears of War said they don't want to see Chris Pratt anywhere near Gears of War, telling Netflix we're not going to cast him. We don't want anything to do with him. But they are interested in casting one Dave Bautista, and Dave Bautista is just as interested as well. He posted a picture of himself in the costume of the main character in Gears of War. So that's kind of interesting to see that and see if it comes to fruition. Don't know if it actually will, but the fact is, they want him and he wants to do it, and it just seems like the absolute perfect storm sort of thing. That would be for the live action one. For the animated one, who knows, whatever. So that's kind of interesting to see that. So they're really getting into their shows about video games and their anime. So interesting. The Doctor Who 60th anniversary is next year, 2023. And it was announced this week that there's going to be not one, not two, but 3 60th anniversary specials that will be released next year. One of which, of course, is going to conclude that cliffhanger that happened on the special that just came out last week or 2 weeks ago around Halloween. I'm not going to go into that for those who haven't seen it yet. But the other news I told you about Doctor Who was they're going to be streaming exclusively the new seasons and shows, and these specials are going to be streaming exclusively on Disney Plus here in the United States, no longer on BBC America. And since Disney Plus has bought the rights to air this, I know the story somewhere else, so I'm going to see if I can find it. They are also going to do for them, there it is right there, going to do for them what they've done with Marvel and Star Wars. They're going to triple the Doctor Who budget to get it a bit more, more special effecty, more classical sci-fi sort of stuff. And they're going to produce new spin-offs of Doctor Who. So this is 60 years later is a renaissance for Doctor Who. Again, Russell T Davies coming back to showrun it as well and write for it. So, as of now, they only have the rights to the new stuff that's coming out starting next year. Will they eventually get the remaining catalog of this new reboot that started way back in 2004, and maybe also some of the old ones going all the way back to 1963? Don't know. We'll find out eventually. So that's kind of interesting. So congratulations, Doctor Who. It might be time to get back into that now. Where do I want to go to next? Chris Rock is going to be the first artist to perform live on Netflix. He will be doing a live comedy show on the streaming service, not a taped one. They're going to be doing it live, similar to how Amazon Prime is now doing the NFL games on Thursday Night Live. This will be a stand-up comedian thing from Chris Rock. Will be the first artist to be live on Netflix. And speaking of connections to Chris Rock, Jimmy Kimmel has been tapped to host next year's Academy Awards. I really didn't like when Kimmel hosted them before. So just sort of meh to me, but we'll see what happens like that. Susanna Hoffs of the Bangles fame has written a novel, and she's going to adapt it into a movie. So good on that. The book is called This Bird Has Flown. Don't know anything about it, so it could be interesting, but it will be getting a film that she's going to be working on. Mario Kart and Call of Duty have been rated as the most stressful video games to play out there. I guess I could see that a little bit. You might be able to add Fortnite to that maybe a little bit, but definitely I can see Mario Kart and Call of Duty being well. Sylvester Stallone has announced that Rambo was originally going to be a Rambo prequel, but is now being turned into a Rambo sequel, where he's going to pass the torch to a new Rambo-esque character, I should say, like he did with Creed, where he came in and sort of tossed the Rocky stuff to Michael B. Jordan to do his Creed stuff. So we'll see what happens with that. Stranger Things Day was this week as well, And the only thing that came out of it was the Duffer Brothers released the cover page for the first script of season 5. It is done, completed, and it showed the name of it. The first episode of season 5 of Stranger Things is called The Crawl, and that automatically sent alarm bells off to the fan base, who thought that it was a sign that Eddie Munson will be making a return in the first episode of season 5, as they all want, because there is a mention in the Master of Puppets song that he played the guitar solo in at the end of season 4 about a crawl, and also kind of a crawling from the wreckage sort of thing. So we'll see if that comes to fruition as well. We have until 2025 for that, but the fact of the matter is we'll see what happens. The first script is done, and we know the name of it. They will not release the rest of the names till probably next year's Stranger Things Day. So stick around for that. Excuse me. Pickle jar shaped candles that smell like pickles are now a thing. So if you like pickles, or the smell of pickles anyway, go ahead and get your pickle candle now. Lay's sweet and salty dipped clusters will be your new holiday snack treat. Lay's does some interesting stuff with their treats and snacks, so this isn't any different. The History Channel, a History Channel team who's filming a documentary about locating a downed World War II airplane underwater in the Atlantic Ocean, accidentally stumbled upon some wreckage from the 1986 Space Shuttle Challenger disaster, which came to quite a shock to both NASA and the crew as they were sifting through the ground trying to find proof of this World War II airplane. They found more of the debris from the 1986 Challenger explosion. So that's kind of a sad but interesting kind of story, that an accident like that could absolutely happen. Robert Downey Jr. is set to executive produce and co-star in a new HBO Max series called The Sympathizer. The premise behind that is about, I believe, a half Vietnamese, half French person who steals secrets, something like that, gets busted or something like that in the 1960s. It's something like that. But Robert Downey Jr. wanted to get a true Vietnamese cast, but he also needed to get a little extra incentive for HBO to buy it. So he is going to star and co-star in multiple roles in the show. But the real stars of the show are I'm going to butcher these names, I know, but I'll try. Hoa Zuande, Sandra Oh, Fred Goyen Khan, Tone Lee, Vi Lee, and Alan Trong are the main stars of it, with Robert Downey Jr., as I said, playing multiple roles in the show. Don't know what that means, but he will also be executive producing it. So that'll be on HBO Max's new shows, probably sometime late next year, probably. So that's to be continued. Anne Hathaway, who's 40 years old today, and Salma Hayek Pinault, as she's known now because I guess her new married name, will be starring in the Netflix film Seesaw Monster. Don't know anything about that except the title, so sounds kind of interesting, I guess. A couple science things before we move on to the next page. Black hole announces itself to scientists as they watch it rip apart a star. So black holes ain't something to mess around with. So we'll see what happens with that. Scientists also discover, what the hell? A extragalactic structure behind the Milky Way. Now, before you go crazy, this isn't some sort of like alien sort of structure. It's a structure meaning there's a number of galaxies that have not been seen before because of the way the Milky Way is, but is behind the Milky Way. However you look at it, there are these multiple universes, sort of in a circular pattern, creating sort of the structure, as they call it. Now, this is something that was in space.com, which is a very reputable scientific space thing. So they wanted to get the clickbait on it with the statement that it is a strange structure, but it is not like an alien structure. It's the structure of these multiple galaxies sort of creating sort of this weird sort of design behind the Milky Way. So something weird. Yes, indeedy do. Tom Holland reportedly closed a deal for Spider-Man 4 and potentially more movies and appearances after that. But as of now, the rumor mill right now is saying that he has definitely signed a contract for at least Spider-Man 4. So we will probably be seeing that sooner than later as well. Fantastic Four is supposedly going to start filming in early 2024. So that tracks about right, since it's now not coming out till 2025. So they have a whole year now to announce the casting and get the script to where they want it and stuff like that. So we'll see that. John Wick 4 released a second trailer this week, and it's what you expect from a John Wick movie. Yeah, not much you can say about that, but that's what it is. But in other John Wick news, apparently there is a John Wick spinoff. There it is right there. Called Ballerina, which is going to star the flavor of the year for the most part, Ana de Armas. And Keanu Reeves as John Wick and Ian McShane as the guy who runs the Continental are both going to pop up in the John Wick spinoff Ballerina. So connecting the spinoff to the original series is a good move on their part. So it's like that. Speaking of connecting stuff, Deadpool 3's got a lot of news with Hugh Jackman supposedly coming back as Wolverine in some form or another. We get word now that a current MCU supporting character will be making an appearance in Deadpool 3 as well, as Owen Wilson has been signed on to join Deadpool 3, reprising his role as Agent Mobius from the Loki series. So that's why people are beginning to believe that Deadpool 3 is going to be a sort of fun Deadpool take on the multiverse, because when you get Hugh Jackman's Wolverine to come out of hibernation or retirement, whatever you want to call it, we'll see what happens about that. So that's kind of interesting. So it'd be interesting to see Owen Wilson going up there again with Ryan Reynolds and such. Chris Evans has been named People's Sexiest Man Alive for this year. No real surprise there, to be honest. He is the second MCU actor in a row. Might have been third now, but I know that last year was Paul Rudd. I don't know who the one the year before that was, so it could be anybody. But the second MCU one in a year to be named People's Sexiest Man Alive. This seems kind of odd, but it seems like more than likely it'll probably more of a prequel sort of series. But Indiana Jones 5, the final go round for Harrison Ford's Indiana Jones, will be coming out next June actually. And Disney Plus has already announced that there will be an Indiana Jones TV show coming out soon after it. But Harrison Ford said he will not be in the TV show. So it leads me to believe that we're looking at an Indiana Jones Chronicles sort of situation, or it could be a more updated Indiana Jones story with a spin-off of kind of what happens in the fifth one. Maybe there's somebody else who takes over the reins, though Harrison Ford said no one else will ever be Indiana Jones, but you could have someone be similar to it. But the fact that it's called the Indiana Jones TV show leads me to believe that's probably going to be like an Indiana Jones Chronicles prequel series sort of thing, like they did way back when, the 90s and 80s. This was the 80s because I remember Harrison Ford made one appearance on it, which is kind of interesting. Speaking of Guillermo del Toro, I talked about his at the Mountains of Madness, but he is still making movies. He has just made a stop motion Pinocchio movie, and that's coming out on Netflix sometime in December. And they released a new trailer for that as well. Doing the Sisterhood, the prequel series that's going to be on HBO Max, just cast Viking star Travis Fimmel for an undisclosed role at this time. Is James Gunn, who took over as the DC Cinematic Universe's Kevin Feige. Did he tease this week a Lobo project that he'll be doing with Jason Momoa, who's always talked about wanting to do a Lobo project, and it would be very easy for him to do because Lobo, you could always CGI him sort of thing and just use Jason Momoa's voice, or you could do not stop motion, but the character capture where Momoa would act out the roles but use the different stop motion capture stuff, and then they would paint over him so that you wouldn't be like, oh, what's Aquaman doing out of space? No, it looked like Lobo. So, but Momoa has been wanting to do a Lobo series forever. And now James Gunn's teased something. It looks like that he might actually get his wish. So that's good. And speaking of the James Gunn and the DCU, James Gunn announced this week that he plans on pulling a Feige and setting up a 8 to 10 year long storyline and multiple movies that'll all be sort of connected. So he's got a general idea for what he wants to do, obviously. So we'll see how that actually works. That trends to, if I was in charge, something similar that I would do. I think I told you the story before. What I would do is I would, to wipe out the crappy, awful, disgusting, shitty piece of crap, fuckwad mess that's the Zack Snyder world is, Snyderverse is. I would start the first movie, if I was in charge again, the first movie in my tenure, which to me would have been Animal Man, as if nothing happened. That it was a normal thing, and there's no mention of any like the characters like that, but some characters mention a crisis that happened. And then you move on to the next one, and then you would have a Henry Cavill Superman one who would be completely different than the Snyderverse one. And through that all would be a little thread of a crisis thing that would eventually lead to the Crisis on Infinite Earths, which totally wiped out, destroyed, and annihilated the Snyderverse that would never return ever again. That's my plan anyway. So we'll see if James Gunn does something similar. Falcon and the Winter Soldier director Kerry Skoglund will be helming a Wind River sequel. I don't see the first one, and I didn't know it did good enough to get a sequel, but hey, it did, so good for you. Brett Goldstein of the Joe Lasso, or the Ted Lasso, series, has been cast in the Garfield Chris Pratt movie. So we'll see how that comes about. The most done ever Christmas show, A Christmas Carol, gets another version of it, an animated musical version called Scrooge, A Christmas Carol, will be popping up December 2nd on Netflix. Now, Netflix does a lot of Christmas stuff when December rolls around, and to this day still has one of the absolute best animated Christmas movies of all time in Klaus. So I'll give it a whirl, but Scrooge and Christmas Carol is one of the most done plays and movies of all time. Hell, the Ryan Reynolds, Will Ferrell musical Spirited is based on that too. And look, I can't be a hypocrite about it because I was in a version of it in high school. I played Bob Cratchit in my senior year of high school. We did a version of A Christmas Carol. So I can't be an asshole about it. And if done properly, you can get a good storyline. I mean, what's going to happen, but you got to make some changes here and there. But it's an animated musical version of Scrooge or Christmas Carol. I don't know if they've ever actually done an animated musical version of Scrooge. I know they've done a live action one. They've done a couple of live action ones, musicals, but in this case, I don't know if they've ever done a animated Christmas Carol that was a musical. So. Dead Boy Detectives, which takes place in the world of Sandman, but is not connected to the Sandman Netflix show. Instead, it's on HBO Max. Has cast Caitlin Riley and Max Jenkins in 2 roles in that show. Let's see what else. Glass is Out. Glass Onion, the Knives Out sequel. Mystery gets a new trailer this week. That's coming out December 23rd. The final season of Carnival Row, which is the second season on Prime, I believe. I think it was. Comes out February 17th. Gets a new trailer this week. Has Orlando Bloom in it. So it only got 2 seasons and it's done. Trailer for Lady Charlie's Lover on Netflix, also coming December 2nd, came out this week. Lady Charlie's Lover is one of these sort of softcore, at the time, it was based on a kind of a softcore sort of novel, and they've done multiple versions of the movie. Now they're doing a new version of it. Saw a trailer of it. Definitely has that sexual quality. It appears to be nudity in it. Sex, obviously, because it's about lovers. And typical storyline, rich lady gets neglected by her rich lord husband. She falls in love with a farmer or something that works on their land, and they have a torrid affair. People find out and things happen. But yeah, there's lots of shower scenes. There's lots of sex scenes. So it might be a good steamy little romantic film for those who want to see that. Red One, which is the Rock and Chris Evans Christmas movie that's coming out next year. Around this time, probably showed the first behind the scenes photos of it. Evans has facial hair, so he's not clean shaven. So, and The Rock is wearing a suitably festive outfit. So we'll see what happens. This week also, I believe, the Jason Momoa Fantasy Slumberland is coming out, which actually looks really, really good. So I might check that out this weekend when my wife and daughter are away at camping. Rolo Pretzel Delights Kit is a new holiday thing. You can get Rolos, or those chocolate caramel delicious candies. Now you can get that melted onto pretzels, and you make them yourself. So good on that. Mountain Dew cheesecake, regular Mountain Dew, not fruitcake Mountain Dew like this is. Oh, thank heavens I'm done. Is a thing, and it looks as disgusting as you think it would be, and probably doesn't taste as good, to be honest. But it's out there, so if you like it, there you go. You could be the proud owner of the only Friendlies in Maine if you want to. Maine's a beautiful countryside. A little chilly way up there north, but if you want to run a restaurant, they've been trying to sell this for years, and they haven't had a chance to. So, hey, you could be a proud owner of it. Some dude on my social media, which I'll talk about tomorrow, was like, why are you telling this story? It's been on for sale for over a year. You're way behind it. Yeah, it's still for sale. That's why we reposted it, because they're trying to find a seller, you dumb fuck. Anyway, we'll talk more about that tomorrow. On my other show, Conversations with Myself, sometime Sunday, probably about, I got to leave about 1 o'clock because we're going to go see Black Panther 2 at 1:45. So it'll be maybe sometime early in the morning. I'll do a new episode of Conversations with Myself, the second show I've done. First episode came out last week. So second episode comes out tomorrow. We'll talk a little bit about this asshole who attacked me on my social media. Guy thought I was my friend, not anymore. So we'll see. Otter steals California surfer's surfboard and does not give it back. It's always cute when animals do crazy things like that. So it's kind of funny to see that. Solar storms smash a hole in the Earth's magnetosphere, creating a rare pink aurora. Pictures of that were posted recently this week, so that's kind of cool. A CrossFit jogger is mistaken for running from something by people milling about on the road he was running on, and they all started running after him like he was running away from something. So it's kind of funny to see that. And I've wanted to, when I first read this, I thought it was an Onion headline or one of these other parody website things, but then it got picked up on a bunch of other more legitimate websites. And this, I really don't think this is true. I think everyone got scammed on this one. because this sounds like an Onion headline, but I'm going to repeat it anyway because I think it's weird, kind of funny. That's what this show's about. Oculus founder invents a new VR headset that will actually kill you if you die in game. I swear to God, when I first saw that headline, I was like, it's an Onion. It absolutely sounds like an Onion headline or a parody headline, but it got picked up by a bunch of other websites that are notorious for their strict news sort of thing. So I still think that they got hosed, and I think it's a parody, but I just wanted to mention it because I thought it was kind of a funny headline. The CW is canceling everything under the sun right now. They just canceled Whose Line Is It Anyway, which, believe it or not, was still going on. For those who didn't know, yes, it was still going on, but it has now been canceled. I can't imagine why, because it is a low-budget show, and you need to fill your time slots, so why not just keep it? But, oh well, whatever. Fans of White Castle hamburgers can now get White Castle Bites at your local freezer, or grocery store, I should say, grocer's freezer. The one I saw package for was a cheeseburger flavored one, so that's pretty good. Mark Hamill is always in the news, but he was in the news today. He shared really heartfelt remembrance of his friend Kevin Conroy, who passed away this week. But he also revealed this week that he and Carrie Fisher had a steamy makeout session during the making of Star Wars. Now, it was kind of weird because at that time we know now that Carrie Fisher was having an affair with Harrison Ford. But Mark Hamill was telling the stories like nothing ever came of it, and it was just a one-time thing, and we didn't go any further than kissing. But they made out one night or something like that on the set of Star Wars, and they were laughing about it. So I think that's what made them stop, was that they just couldn't stop laughing after they're doing it. So they were probably a little bit on the. Speaking of which, I'm going to cover this in tomorrow's episode of Conversation with Myself, but I figured I'd hit this. My state of Maryland has officially legalized the cannabis. Yeah, I voted for it. I'll be the one thing I voted yes on it because I've wanted it to be verified or legalized, I should say. So Maryland is now legalizing cannabis. All cannabis, not just medical one. We've had the medical marijuana legalized for a few years now. I think since 2016, I think was when the might have been 20. No, it was 2016. It's been it's been a while since we've legalized medical marijuana. So now we have regular marijuana legalized here in Maryland. So woohoo! Not that I indulge too much, obviously, for me doing this. You know, obviously I have never done it, so because I'm a stupid moron. But I have had friends who've done it. I've been in the room when they've done it. They've offered to me. I said, no, I'm good. And I've seen them do bong hits too. College was weird. And then nowadays, it doesn't even matter. You're driving down the road, and if you have your windows open and you're at a stoplight or whatever, you can smell it all over the place. People in cars all over, they smoking it all the time. So, yeah, it's good to have it legalized, right? Pokemon Crocs. I think I've talked about that before. They are now officially out. So if you like your Crocs and you like Pokemon, you can now get Pokemon Crocs. Okay, I talked about this. World's only life-size chocolate mousse is in Scarborough, Maine. Another reason why you need to move to Maine to own a Friendly's. You can now see the world's largest. I think it's 1,700, not feet because that would be wild, but 1,700 inches or something like that. But it's a big, giant chocolate mousse carved out of chocolate. So where is that? I think I might have already. Oh, there it is right there. Krispy Kreme goes absolutely crazy. They've been going crazy all the time. They've now got mini pie donuts. So donuts based on the pies that you're used to for Thanksgiving and stuff like that. So good on that. A bear breaks into a Nestle Toll House cafe in California and starts eating all the food there. I mean, what do you expect when the bear is on the flag of California? They're going to be there and they're going to do that kind of stuff. In about a month and like about 5 days, 6 days, James Cameron's Avatar 2, after a 12-plus year hiatus, 10 to 12-year hiatus since the last one came out, Avatar 2 will be out. And this week, James Cameron said that if number 2 underperforms, And I don't know what that means, because is he expecting another, $4 billion hit? Or is he hoping that, would he classify that as a hit if it hit that? Would he classify it as a hit if it hit 1 billion? Would he classify it as a hit if it hit 800 million? Would he classify it as a hit if it hit 500 million, which are all pretty impressive? But is there a specific number in his head that if it doesn't hit that number, I'm going to do this? So he said if it underachieves, since he's already got the pre-production working on it and he'll know that he'd be able to do it, he said that Avatar will only last 3 movies. Now, he said if it overperforms or does better than expected, he will continue with the original idea of 5. He wants to do 5 Avatar movies, but he is willing to drop it to 3 if number 2 underperforms. So we'll know about that in about 2 months, about how that's going. Sean Levy is a busy man. He is recently has done a number of films with Ryan Reynolds, did the Apollo Project, did Free Guy, has involved in Stranger Things, is one of the producers of Stranger Things and one of the many directors they use on the show. And since he's buddies with Ryan Reynolds has got him to direct Deadpool 3, which would be their 3rd straight movie collaboration in a row. But Sean Levy is now in talks to direct a Star Wars movie, a standalone Star Wars movie, after Stranger Things Season 5 and Deadpool 3 have been in the can. So we're looking at Deadpool 3 is coming out in 2024. Stranger Things 5 is coming out in 2024. It's Star Wars. He would have finished making those films probably in late 2023. And the TV shows. So I would say you would probably see the Star Wars movie 2026, 2027, probably closer to 2027, probably. So a little ways to go, but he has signed on to that. On the flip side, J.D. Dillard, who was expected to get his own Star Wars movie, his Star Wars movie has been canceled. And he also was supposed to direct the Rocketeer sequel, which I would have loved, but he has just exited that as well. So I don't know what's going on with that. But that's all gone now. Martin Lawrence and Melanie Roxburgh, and John Malkovich will be in a movie together called Nine Cage, but it is a definite change from Martin Lawrence. He plays straight up drama, no comedy. And it's about a serial killer played by John Malkovich. So interesting. Nicolas Cage has found another new project for himself to do. He is set to star in a horror film called Long Legs. Don't know much about it, but it's due to come out in a few years. Obviously, he's got a horror movie coming out probably next year about Dracula. So that'll be interesting. The Night Court reboot has a date. It is coming out January 17th, 2023 on NBC. So for those who remember Night Court from the 80s, you can now get the reboot now starring Melissa Rauch, who was in Big Bang Theory, who played Bernadette. And John Larroquette is back as Dan Fielding, and he's the only connection to the original series since Harry Anderson has unfortunately passed away. Richard Mole has passed away. Charlie Robinson has passed away. I think Marsha Warfield might still be alive, but she might be not wanting to do this, so we'll see. But yes, John Larroquette will be back, and Melissa Rauch is going to be playing the judge, is the daughter of Harry Stone, so we'll figure all that out when the show comes back January 17th, 2023 on NBC. Carrie-Anne Moss, her of The Matrix, has joined the cast of the Star Wars TV show on Disney Plus, The Acolyte, which has started filming this week as well. So they're saying that what they've seen of The Acolyte is going to be up there with Andor as being one of the more different Star Wars shows you've ever seen. So that'll be interesting to check that out. Tom Holland's Spider-Man, the PlayStation variant Spider-Man from the Spider-Man video game, and Spider-Punk, voiced by Daniel Kaluuya, will be showing up in the sequel Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse animated film. So interesting to see that. Rebel Wilson, who has lost a tremendous amount of weight, has welcomed her first child via surrogate at the age of 42. She did not have the baby. She had it through a surrogate, obviously. She's a single mother now, so that'd be good for her. They announced last D23, not the one that this year, but last year's, that Zootopia, the hit from Disney, was going to be getting its own show on Disney Plus. Well, we have more information about it now. The series trailer came out, and it's not a series. It is a series of shorts, similar to the I Am Groot series of shorts things. It is a bunch of shorts starring the different characters of Zootopia, standalone shorts here and there. So good on that. Netflix renews their show Monster for 2 more seasons. But how could you? Because Monster was the Jeffrey Dahmer sort of story with Evan Peters. So how could you renew something where you're done the story? Well, focus on other serial killers. And that's like what they do. They're going to do what they did for Dahmer for other serial killers. Shazam 2 finally has a new date to come out, a new poster and stuff like that. Get your green on and go out and see Shazam 2 before you go drinking on St. Patty's Day, March 17th, 2023. Shazam 2 will be out in movie theaters. I did not know St. Patty's Day was going to be on a Friday this year, or next year, I should say, which is very good. So you can drink more and then have the weekend to recover. I'll tell you that last. That's sports. Daryl Dixon spinoff from Walking Dead. Now, The Walking Dead final episode is now about 9 days away for the final episode ever of the original Walking Dead series. There's a number of spinoffs that are coming out of it. One of them is the Daryl Dixon spinoff, and we now have more information about it. Somehow, and this is kind of a spoiler, but everybody knows about now because they talked about it. But somehow in the series finale of Walking Dead, Daryl Dixon's going to find himself in France. And his spinoff is going to be Walking Dead in Europe. And that's kind of an interesting sort of take on things. And they've cast two actors in the show now, both French actors and actresses. One is Clémence Posse, who was I forget her name, was in Harry Potter Goblet of Fire. She played the in the Triwizard Tournament. She was the female champion from the female school, which my mind isn't working right now. And she ended up marrying Bill, right? Bill Weasley. God damn it. Oh, but she's the actress who played that. And where is it? Hold on. And Adam Nagales is also being cast. That now there's also rumors that Daryl Dixon's wife, her name I also forget too. She was in the National Treasure movies. Norman Reedus. Is Diane Kruger. Okay. There's rumors that Diane Kruger, who is an actress in her own right, may also appear in his spinoff in some form or another. So we'll see about that. That's just rumor right now. But these two actors, Clémence Posse and Adam Nagales, are cast in the Daryl Dixon spinoff as regulars, I believe. Agatha Coven of Chaos keeps building and building their cast. They cast 2 more people. Sashir Zamata and Eric Andre, who I believe is Andre 3000 or 5000, whatever that singer is. They've been cast in the Agatha Coven of Chaos show, which I'm betting, since we're seeing all this casting now, means that the filming is imminent. I think they said it's going to happen in December. They're going to start filming the show. That's good. First... There's always one that I can't read. First track for the bleh. So I don't know what that says. Oh, first trailer for something. Oh, there was a movie trailer the first trailer of it came out. I don't know what that is. Oh, well. Moving on. The Halloween crack has been observed in Antarctica. It's a crack that isn't appearing to get bigger as of yet, but potentially could be disastrous for the world if it does happen. It is a crack that, if it fully cracks the surface of Antarctica, will release a massive piece of Antarctica out into the ocean, which will eventually cause all kinds of effed up stuff to happen. So there we go. The trailer for, here, we'll do sports ball stuff now. No, caramel apple. First, just caramel apple mimosas are a thing nowadays. That just sounds really, really good because I like caramel apples. So now you can get caramel apple mimosas for your holiday drinks coming up. First trailer for the what? Whatever. So now here's some sports ball stuff. The trailer for the ESPN 30 for 30, which is funny because it's no longer the 30th anniversary of ESPN, and they were only going to do 30 of them for the 30th anniversary, but they became so popular that it's now a regular series. But this one is going to focus on something close to my heart, the 2000 Baltimore Ravens, who won the Super Bowl and are considered to be the best defense in NFL history. The trailer is going to cover that. What's kind of sad about that was Tony Siragusa, who was a member of that group, died just after filming this documentary. So it's kind of sad. So we'll see him in this documentary. So the first trailer for it came out, so it's kind of cool. And despite a winning record with the Colts, with multiple QBs, so he never had any real consistency, Frank Reich was fired by the owner, Jim Irsay, who is not far off of the branch of his asshole father who moved the Colts from Baltimore in the middle of the night back in '83. Supposedly, the reason why he's doing this is because he wants to tank the season so he can get one of the good QBs coming out in next year's draft. So we'll see what happens. And he put in Jeff Saturday, who was a center during the Peyton Manning years, and he has really no coaching experience. And there were coaches on Reich's staff who have gone to Super Bowls and have coached the Colts before during, times when Reich was hurt or because he had a little bit of a disease issue or whatever. Not disease issue, but he had some injuries and I think he had a cancer scare or something. So he was out for a while. So someone else was in there and he had a winning record. I mean, it's not a great one, but it's like 44, 33 and 1, something like that. And that's not bad at all. And they fired him for no reason other than the fact that they want to tank the season and put in Jeff Saturday, who has no coaching experience in the big leagues whatsoever. So we'll see what happens with that. And finally, the most interesting sports story this week. Before the season started, the NFL season started, a Jets fan decided to do a little experiment just for the hell of it. So he wrote out the Jets schedule for all 18 weeks. I know it's a 17-week season and they have a bye. And everyone they played, who they played, where they played, stuff like that. And they took a coin and he flipped it. I guess he said heads, they win, tails, they lose, something like that. So he flipped the first game of the season. They play whoever. It was the Ravens. They play the Ravens. He flips the coin, tails. Okay, they're going to lose. So he put lose. And then flips the coin. Second week, who are they playing? Like the Bills or whatever. They're going to win. And like, okay, win. And then flip the coin, lose. And they did it for all 17 games. At present, Jets are on bye this week, I believe. At present, he is 9-0. His first 9 coin flip for the wins-loss record is 100% accurate. I find that fascinating and interesting, and we'll see if that can keep up. First trailer for what? I don't know. All right, not many left here, and then we're gonna take off for the rest of the night. Just after 1 o'clock. Ooh, the temperature is dropping here in Maryland. Yeah, we had a nice. The like 60, 70 degree days the last 3 or 4 days because the tropical storm came up from Florida, bringing with it the warm air. But once it went out of the system, this cold front's coming through, and we're looking at awfully cold temperatures here in the mid-Atlantic area. It's down to 48 degrees right now from 60 something today. So we're looking at 52 degrees today on Sunday with a low of 36. Tomorrow, 46 and 34. Tuesday, 46 and 30. Wednesday, 52 and 36. Thursday, 45 and 32. Friday, 43 and 28. Saturday, 41 and 25. Sunday, 43 and 25. Monday, 46 and 23. Tuesday, 48 and 28. So we're in for a brutal chill here. And we'll see how that all works out. And it's going to be really, really cold, unfortunately, for my wife and daughter's camping trip. So hopefully it'll be okay. But yeah, I was just looking at it right now. Its temperature is dropping rapidly out here in Reisterstown, Maryland. All right. So what are we looking at here? Let's see which one would be a good. Okay. Mattress Mark or Mac, who I guess is a local guy in Houston, put a wager down beginning of the season, like $10 million, that the Houston Astros would win the World Series. It's beginning of the year, beginning of the baseball season. The Houston Astros won the World Series. And Mattress Mac, Mark, whatever, got a $75 million payout for winning that bet. It is the highest legal payout in sports history, $75 million. Now, he's a rich guy because he put $10 million down, I guess, at 75 to 1 odds or 7 to 1 odds or however that works. I'm not exactly sure. He won $75 million because Houston won the World Series. That is absolutely insane. A 1.2 mile long train broke the world record for largest ever passenger train in the Swiss Alps. 1.2 mile long train. Just think about that. Think about a 1.2 miles and how long that is. And then think of it as a train. It's like the Snowpiercer train. But yes, 1.2 mile train is the longest train in world record history. Finally, the last story for this week. A restaurant in Myanmar has a unique way to get discounts on your meal. When you come close to entering the restaurant, they have a giant gate up, and they have slots for you to fit through. There's one that you fit through easily. One's a little bit lower. One's a little bit lower. And one's really, really low. Above those the slots is a percentage. It is a percentage you will get off of your restaurant bill if you can fit through those cracks. So obviously the one that is the easiest one is like a 10 or 15% off, which is still really good at your meal if you can fit through that. And the next one would be like, a 25 to 30% off. And then another one would be like 40 to 50% off. And then another one's like 75 to 80% off if you can get through. It's like the really, really skinny one that most people would not be able to get through, but you never know. I just think that's kind of a neat little thing. That's it for episode 473, Fruitcake Soda, which is not good, by the way. Do not get it. I said it's not terrible, but it's not good. Next week's episode, we'll be talking my review of Black Panther 2. And then eventually it's going to lead. I think I'm going to do a new episode every week for conversation with myself. As I said, I'm not normally going to do one every week, but I got stuff I want to talk about tomorrow. The week after that's going to be my Thanksgiving one. And then I think I'm going to do a Marvel Cinematic Universe countdown for me for the one at the end of November. So early December. So we'll see what happens after that. So do my Black Panther 2 review. Maybe the Santa Clauses, I might get into that. Clauses review of the first few episodes. I'll put a question mark next to that. Don't know. And whatever else happens this week. So Join me tomorrow sometime for the second chapter of my new show, Conversations with Myself. I'll be talking about the social media fiasco I had to deal with this week. I'll be talking about MTV. I'll be talking about my conspiracy theory for the Powerball drawing that came out this week. I'll talk a little bit about the election. And we'll talk about a few other things as well. Maybe get the Ron Underwood thing that I postponed from last week to this week. We'll see if I get it done. I guess my wife is still up because I keep hearing a beeping noise upstairs. All right, y'all. That's it. Stay warm. Scott, thank you for watching the whole time. I really do appreciate it. And I get some sleep because it is 1:12 a.m. So take care, and we'll see you later. And don't forget, don't miss Conversations with Myself. Sometime tomorrow, you'll see it on my page. It'll go live, and you'll see. Thanks. Don't get Fruitcake Soda.